Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend D.G. Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I be your Captain Charlie, Professor Esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend and first mate.
It's Mozz.
Hey Mozz, welcome upon the deep briny of the internet and streaming television everywhere we find it. Tonight's episode, Wildwood, Season 1, Episode 5 of Willow. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and demons, the enchanted fairy forest beckons, but is home to dangerous bone reavers. Our director this week is Philippa Lothrop, and then of course we got Hannah Friedman on the written by credit this week. Jonathan Kasdan gets our developed by. George Lucas gets the I have worked too hard and am joining my retirement based on characters by credit. And of course, as always, our uncredited, hearted working man in show business staff writer, John Bickerstaff. All right. So this is a pretty good episode. I like this episode where we're after we left Nakamar. And everyone survived that, fortunately.
They thought they'd gotten away perfectly clean.
Yes.
But then you saw the foreboding monsters waiting in the wings. And I was like, okay, that's a great place to end the episode.
Yeah, well, there's always more monsters. But, you know, our hero Willow goes looking for some allies, comes across the brownies. The brownies are lovely. We get the dad brownie and his daughter. One of our brownies is not here, but that's okay. We're going to love this scene and the wackiness that we get with it, specifically about people being no longer with us. And that's no, they just moved. But they do go into the Wildwood, and we get captured. At least some of us get captured by the Bone Reavers, who we have been conditioned to think are just, pure evil.
I thought they were mythical creatures. I thought they were supernatural.
Well, that's what they want you to think.
Right.
But that
makes me think, like, how did they infect the guard? I guess the crone must have given them some sort of poison to strike them with, I guess, right?
Well, that's actually an interesting aspect. Because it's possible the crone isn't using the Bone Reavers right now. She had used Bone Reavers the last time, and now she's sending hobgoblins or some other.
No, but didn't the Bone Reavers attack the castle, and that's when the guard got whatever touched or struck?
Well, they were dressed like Bone Reavers, and we did see that a Bone Reaver did attack the party,
right,
when they were driving, but technically, we don't know the actual monster, because the actual beings that attacked weren't Bone Reavers, because we saw that we had the one guy who's got some kind of gigantic cage on his head, and you see these people that are actually...
No, I'm talking about in the very beginning.
Yes, in the very beginning. I don't think those
were... Not the very beginning of the episode, in the very beginning of the series.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay.
I don't think those were Bone Reavers. I think those were goblins and monsters. And they thought they were Bone Reavers, and maybe they wanted them to think they were Bone Reavers. But I actually get the impression from this that the Bone Reavers are no longer allied with the Crone. And I think that's an interesting aspect of this, because I do think one of the things that is getting played out here is something that I think speaks to what we're actually dealing with in this kind of dark world of, kings and lords and ladies, that it's maybe the good guys aren't the good guys we think they are.
What made you think they don't work with the Crone any longer?
That they're actively not working. That at least this party of Bone Reavers seems to have no interest in doing anything towards our villains or towards our heroes.
See, I got the impression that when she was explaining to Borman that they had this deal, that in order to get away from whatever, that they made a deal with the Crone to say, hey, we'll do your bidding, you leave us alone, and you get in the way between whoever wants to oppress us so that we can have a quiet little life. And whenever the Crone needs us, she calls us.
But that was the original agreement. I don't think she's calling him this time.
Oh, okay.
And
it seemed to me like in the beginning when that attack happened, there was that big, but then didn't she say that was her father?
Well, the big guy, but the big guy died last movie.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe that wasn't who we saw, or?
I think it might have been someone dressed up like them or someone using an illusion. Yeah. Because he's dead. Because they even made the point that their father was dead.
Right.
That the mark they have is to know that that's the family they belong to, and that, he had so many wives and so many children,
Right. So maybe they just found his dead body and then made it undead and enslaved to their devices.
Renew, reuse, recycle, Mozz. You got a dead body. What's it doing just lying there? Put it up on the rack.
When they mean keeping it green, it means rot.
Yes, but I like with Thraxus Borman in here, where he is basically making the point. I like the fact that when he gets captured, the leader knows him and he's worked with them. That obviously, which is again one of these things that lets you know that the Bone Reavers aren't just the monsters that they say they are, because obviously Val Kilmer's character, Mad Mardigan, and Borman both worked with them on their own treasure hunting adventures, and I do find that very interesting. And we do see how he says he escaped and how he actually escaped.
Right.
And about how he was coming to free them himself, but got distracted along the way, which is, not exactly true, Mozz. I don't know if you got that.
Right, but at the same time, I don't think we should diminish the fact that he did escape from a place that was considered inescapable.
Yes, and that is why he's the rogue, Every good party needs a rogue, and he is the rogue. And he is a great rogue. He is roguing it up all over the place. That was a little, I don't know what that pot was filled in that he was hiding in. And I don't think I want to know.
To me, it was pretty clear that was like troll excrement.
Yeah.
Or the excrement of other prisoners and whatnot.
It was something in a nice big, but in a convenient location. Like usually when you have excrement, you want it to flow out.
Or they might have had like one of those outhouses that has like a giant,
a little cistern underneath it, and then you have
bring
to
it out, and like the military does it. They have like these pits of poo that they burn, right?
I don't know. I don't know what they do with
there was a whole big lawsuit about soldiers that inhaled fumes from burning poo.
No, those are burn pits. That's something different.
But they're burning poo, right?
No, they're burning. No, if it was burning poo, it wouldn't be the problem. What they were burning was excess chemical weapons and wastes. Oh yeah, no, the burn pits were very bad.
I just thought when they said waste, I automatically assumed human waste.
No, they mean military grade waste. Yeah, that's a different kind of waste there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no. Generally speaking, I mean, you don't want to inhale burning poo.
Right. I was like, man, burning poo is really dangerous.
It is. No, actually, it's something else. Anyway, but yeah, so he's escaped, but you know, I'm trying to remember here. So of course, Kit.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite part of this episode was Kit's different burgeoning relationships. One with Alora and how they come to an understanding and respect for each other, and with her and Jade. And yeah. I thought it was like a delicate thing to handle, but they really made it enjoyable to watch, right? The two of them uncomfortably getting closer to each other. And sometimes like it might come off as cheesy, but like I didn't care. That was such a fun ride, and it was really cool to watch that happen between her and Jade.
Yeah, and you know, and that's the really important aspect of this is that, and this is what I really think it is. I think that they recognize Jade the moment they see her. I think her sister knows who she is, or at least has an inkling who she is. Even though she hasn't seen she has to get into the fight to see the tattoo, but she knows that's my sister. And I think that informs a lot of what happens in this episode, because it is them cautiously welcoming them into the circle, into the Bone Reavers, you know. And I'm trying to remember because I think Willow is it Willow? No, because Kit, I think, is tied up. Jade is tied up.
I think they're all tied up. They're all incapable of affecting the situation in any way.
No, I thought Willow and what's his name?
Graydon.
I thought they were outside of it because they do the scene where they sneak back in, and suddenly they realize that, oh no, they're not coming after us because they just don't see us as a threat. They don't care.
Right.
You know, and I thought that was it's interesting, and it's not inconceivable, because you know they've captured the fighters,
right?
And they know, you know, and the other two, you know, because, and again, Graydon makes this point in this that he is not a fighter. Oh, one exchange I really enjoyed in this was between Graydon and Alrin, which is. Or what's her name? Alora.
Okay.
Yeah, Alora Denna. No, I heard her Alrin. I don't know. Anyway, between Jaden and Alora, which is specifically that he's like, I told you there was something inside me, that there was something dark, and you know, so she's like, so when you killed your brother, it wasn't you. When you attacked me, it wasn't you. Are you now?
I know that's a difficult, you know, thing to say, and a difficult thing to accept, but I mean, I think he might be right. You know, so like, what is it? Was the possession when he was a child something that was innate in him that he's been fighting for this long and denying a part of himself, or is he just prone to sickness, spiritually speaking, like some people are, physically speaking?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting question, and we get because we do see him become all scabrous when it happens, you know. So we're meant to believe there's some kind of evil involved. Although, you know, and again, there's that part of me that's wondering how much of this is real and how much of this is a manufactured memory from what his family told him. You know, because that's my biggest thing with this. It's like everything they show us so far, there's always been sort of a little bit of a pull back the curtain later. And you realize, oh, okay, so they're not the heroes. They're not the good guys, or this isn't what it seems. And I think a prime example of that is when they're explaining to Jade her heritage, and specifically saying, yeah, of course, they stole our children, because if you can steal the children, then you can end the culture, and you end the possibility of rebellion. Because really what the Bone Reavers seem to be in this understanding is as, criminals, yes, bandit nomads, yes, but also a tribe of people wanting to live free. Not wanting
and they're just fighting to survive. Like she says, they don't have the benefit of this protective bubble. Your bubble doesn't protect us. You don't know what life is like out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't hold us to a moral standard that you were luxurious and lucky enough to grow up in.
Yeah, well, and that is true, But I think there's also an aspect of that where they wouldn't want to be in the bubble.
Right.
I think that's also one of the, in the same way that.
Who would want to be in that bubble? Like, look how they've treated them so far, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Well, it's a very human world, a human elitist world. Like, it's not like Willow and his people were invited into the bubble.
Right. I mean, like, if it was just a bubble protecting them, that's all well and good. But the bubble comes with your influence, and that's the part that's a problem.
Exactly. It comes with the rule of the king and the queen, and that is where it gets more complex and more difficult. And also, I think what's an interesting aspect that we've also seen in this is that people live outside the bubble just fine. And we think about our woodcutters in the previous episode, who were two sassy old ladies living together in the wood,
and they were having a good time.
Yeah, because they were living their lives, and it makes you start to wonder maybe it's less the nightmare that you think it is, and more just it's life, and life is difficult, and life is hard, and that's one of the things I'm wondering if we're going to get as this plays out. Because, and it's interesting because, and this is an interesting thing with the Bone Reavers and the promise of being free. And that's why they worked with the Crone. And it mirrors what some criticisms of the Lord of the Rings have, where again, it's this, elfin-centric universe, and the idea that maybe Sauron was reaching out to protect the oppressed classes, because clearly goblins and orcs aren't well beloved in the Lord of the Rings universe, so maybe they're being oppressed, and maybe that's what Sauron offers. And the thing that strikes me is they call the villain in this is the Crone, right? And obviously it's meant to be the old crone, the scary old crone, but it strikes me that as you come at this with a 2023 understanding of how words have meaning and how the word crone has evolved over the decades, and I think about what is, common in Wicca practices with the idea of the triple goddess of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And the crone, although yes, is the dark aspect, it's the wise aspect, and it is sometimes the cruel aspect, but life is cruel. And maybe trying to push out the crone is why the crone is pushing back. Because you want it all to be the maiden and the mother, and forgetting about the circle of life and the balance in all things. And that maybe that's sort of the arc we're going to get by the end of this, is that maybe what Laura Dannon will realize, because I think that's a lot of what Laura Dannon is on a journey for here, is to realize that the magics are broken in many ways because they're meant to force us into certain perspectives and to accept
inherently against the nature of the regular flow of the universe.
Exactly. This is I know this is my reiteration about balancing the force and all that kind of stuff, but not to put too fine a point on it. These are both written by George Lucas.
Fair enough.
And I do think that may be something that, because he has no problem with a villain being a villain, but I think he also does understand that, that true balance means that we separate ourselves from the ego of control. And when we separate ourselves from the ego of control, we can actually do more and be more. And that's why I'm actually interested in the next episode, because obviously we're going to meet the goblins or some other who are the people working with the crone this time. And I haven't watched. I like tried to watch it and I fell asleep and all that kind of stuff, as always happens when I'm trying to watch something. I'm trying to watch Head, I always fall asleep. But it definitely looks like we're going into Goblin Society and and I wonder if there's going to be an aspect of it that's like the goblins just want to live too.
Right.
You know, we all just want to live. And unfortunately, because of the power structures of the world, someone keeps on trying to push us down to keep us from living our lives, you know. And, you know, you can compare that again to the Jawa and the Tuscans, you know, where they have their culture that that the human colonists don't understand it, that, you know, humans don't understand that to the Jawa, that you left something makes it salvage, you know.
Why would you leave it?
Yes, you know, that just means you're salvage. You carry all of your tech with you all the time.
Give me mixed signals here, buddy.
Yes. But yeah, I mean that's what we're looking at here. And that is, I do like when we get the revelation that Jade is actually the princess of this group, which is also, again, a neat power dynamic switch between her and Kit.
Well, I mean, she's one of 45 princesses, I guess.
To be fair, the princess is a princess. But more to the point, it is this idea that she realizes these are my people. And maybe after this is all said and done, I should be with my people.
Right. I have a people.
Exactly. You know, a people that, quite frankly, your people tried to tell me weren't real.
Right. Yeah, there's a great moral debt owed by your people to mine.
Yes, and but I do like that Kit's basic statement is, I will follow you here. You know, I will go where you go. In the same way that Kit at the beginning said, I will go where you go. Yeah. Which is, or where Jade said to Kit. Yeah. And I like that. I like that there is this, and I know they're teenage kids or 20-year-old kids, you know. So, you know, what they know about life. But
I know, but like that's when you're unbroken by the world and you can believe in the ideal, the highest ideal of these things. I think that's the only time you're capable. So enjoy it while you can. And for what it was, I mean, I thought they captured it beautifully. The chemistry between them was great. And to see Kid finally not be afraid to let someone see her, not being too cool for school, hiding behind an attitude. Scary for her, but she did it, and it was just beautiful. I thought it was lovely. And
it was.
At the beginning, when they walk into the forest first, I love that moment where she's like, well, this is where the people who killed my parents went. And Kit goes, maybe they're still here. Right? Like not thinking like, oh, you're going to be like, oh, woe is me. Oh no. Or be scared that they're here. But she knew Jade well enough to knew that she is of the kind of mindset that would go, oh, I'm going to get these guys. Right? So like when she said, oh, they're still in here, and she's like, maybe they're still here. Like she was excited for her. I thought that was a really cool moment.
Yes. And of course the irony of it all is that to add further complexity to Jade's already complex life story is the people who killed her parents were Kit and her people. And specifically the guy who raised her and that she had to kill and who loved her and who she loved. Yeah.
Like, it's almost like she got robbed of her revenge. She got her revenge, but didn't even know it. Didn't even know that she should, like, enjoy that moment. But man, how conflicting would that moment have been?
Yeah,
I think it would have made it more difficult to kill him. At least this way she could deal with it in like a flat plane of emotion. It wasn't
compartmentalized stuff.
Yeah. And that would have been even so much more rough.
Yeah, well, I mean, because it is rough, because it is her dealing with the reality that, and again, it's one of these weird aspects of things. You know, when you're a kid, so much of your life isn't yours. And I got to imagine, even in this situation where there's a war and there's a war orphan, and a lot of war orphans get adopted by the people who killed their parents, you know? This is just something that happens. And you can put a a dark spin on it, as her sister does, about the desire to block out the history and the culture. And not going to lie, that there are those for whom that is a very big part of it, you know. But I do think that on that individual level, on the individual situation between a parent and a child, I think that there is a lot more to it than that. And I do think that there is also these conflicts, because at the same time, you have this reality that this guy who loves his adopted daughter has to never tell her the truth of where she came from either, you know?
It as soon as I was like, man, this has a very like Richard III kind of feeling to it, you know, where he's like, was ever a woman in this manner wooed? Was ever a woman in this manner won? I was like, man, that's kind of what's going on. Like, yeah. And she goes, yeah, I know, like, your father killed my father, but, you know, it's, you know, we're not them. You're not her. I'm not him, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, I do gotta love, Graydon, getting advice. What? Yeah. No. Graydon, when he's hanging out with the Skull Reavers.
Oh, no, but he's asking Borman for advice on how to get girls. And Borman's like, women are all I ever think about. And you're like, I don't know if that's true. You seem kind of like, but then, you know, the effect that he has on the Skull Reaver Queen, you're like, oh yeah, he does have some charm. And then, of course, my favorite scene was Borman washing the poo off of him in that hilarious, like, shampoo commercial scene. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And he really enjoyed himself on that. It was so good.
Oh yeah. Because, and first off, I'm not faulting the man. You know, if I got out of prison crawling through the poo, which is, you know, which this is possible, not, and as people point out that, if you actually crawled through a sewage pipe, you would die of methane poisoning. It's a big mistake in Shawshank, but you can always put that up to an unreliable narrator. He actually went out through a water pipe, not a feces pipe, you know.
Right.
But but I'm talking about the when they shave Graydon. And they go, wow, and he's like, and just this idea that they say, oh, you're trying to woo a woman. No, women like beards. I'm sorry. Had you told us that you tried to woo a woman, we wouldn't.
Which you would have told us before.
But you know, I like it, and I actually think that, you know, the relationship between Loredan and Graydon is interesting, because I actually do think Graydon is going to become a sorcerer by the end of this. I think that's definitely the track they put him on. That he is a learned man, and he's going to be a man of books and letters and magic. Because he's, you know, that between him and Laura, they're going to find that balance in magic. And that would be cool. But we will have to see what happens. But that also may explain why he's had this darkness in him, because maybe he is touched by the magic, but that the magic, because in that world, and you have to remember, in that world that he was growing up in, the magic was forbidden. So the magic probably always takes a dark turn when it is suppressed. But if he can let the magic out, maybe you can see that it's not as dark as it seems. It's an interesting thing.
Pretty dark, though.
Does seem dark. Well, especially if he killed his big brother. You know, but like I said, I don't.
That look in his eye in that moment was so self-satisfied. You know, it was like, I got, you know,
yeah. But you see, that's the thing. I can't believe he wanted his brother to die.
He really didn't, because when he talks about it later, he's like, "I love my brother more," and I believed him. Like, that seemed genuine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I got to think that there's something in there's something in the oppression of magic that corrupts the magic. And I think that's going to be the lesson we're going to learn at the end of this journey. But we'll have to find out as we go forward in the next few episodes. I believe this still only has an 8-episode run. And then we're looking at the next Mandalorian and whatnot to keep us happy. But I mean, there is a lot here, Mozz. A lot to unpack, a lot to see. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
No, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think we got to it.
Okay. Well, Mozz, so first off, let me just say, if you enjoyed it, or if you love any of the Capes and Lunatics podcasts, because there's a lot of them out here, including Full Stream Ahead and the Salty and Petty podcast, you might like that one, Mozz, too. That's Lilith, Hellfire, and Phil discussing lots of things and being salty and petty.
What's Grinding My Gears podcast?
Yeah, well, I know because they're doing retrospectives. They did a Seinfeld retrospective. They did a Quantum Leap retrospective in honor of the new Quantum Leap, which, by the way, I do enjoy the new Quantum Leap. I find it fun, even though they've gotten rid of the waiting room, and I'm sure that's going to be important because I think it has a lot to do with quantum entanglement, but we'll talk about that later. But if you would like to find out about any of these shows, why don't you go down to our show notes? I'm going to do this backwards today. Go down to our show notes, go to Linktree, linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. That takes you to the Capes and Lunatics Masterboard. And there you're going to be able to see all of our merch, how to send us money with Cash App or Patreon, and see all of the shows. And if you see any shows you like, we want you to write to us in that old-fashioned email way at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's CapesandLunatics, all spelled out, at gmail.com. Or call us, record a message for us. We will listen to that. We will take your advice, and we will play it on the air so the world can know why we are geniuses or why we are idiots and why you are also very smart. By calling us at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. There's still time to review movies that you liked and TV shows that you hate. So please let us know your thoughts. We'll find a podcast for it. And then, Mozz, if they do all that and they still want to talk to you individually, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, where our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as we live tweet things when we feel like it. At Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, you lovable landlubbers. You've come to the end of another adventurous, stormy turn upon the internet seas. Come back again next week when we once again sail full stream ahead. Arr.